Hi, I'm Cody Smith, Technical Support Manager for Cloy's Gear and Products. In this video, I'm going to show you how to service the timing components in the 2002 to 2009 Nissan 3.5 liter V6 engines using Cloy's aftermarket replacement components. The Nissan 3.5 liter V6 engines use one of two different timing kits depending on application, the 90720S or the 90720SA for 2002 to 2009 coverage. The differences in the kits include the three primary chain guides and the primary chain tensioner. Both include chains, guides, tensioners, and sprockets. Even though the full kit coverage is 2002 to 2009, Cloy's does have coverage through 2015 on critical components. Use the Cloy's Buyer's Guide to ensure you order the correct kits or components for your application. We will be installing the more popular 90720S kit in this video. A few quick notes before we get started. Engine removal may be required to service the timing components in some vehicle applications. Also note that in order to remove the front engine cover, the upper and lower oil pans must be removed. One more thing, this is an interference engine, so take care when rotating shafts individually. Once the front engine cover and rocker covers have been removed, you'll need to rotate the engine to number 1 top dead center. Align the crankshaft key to the mark on the oil pump and ensure the primary cam phaser timing marks are at 10 o'clock on the right bank and 2 o'clock on the left bank. You are now ready for timing system disassembly. Start by removing the upper chain guide. Next, remove the primary tensioner and tensioner guide. Now remove the primary timing chain, the left-hand chain guide, and the crank sprocket. Remove all 4 camshaft sprocket bolts. Use the hex features on the camshafts to hold each individual shaft when removing the bolts. Before removing the sprockets and chains, compress the secondary tensioners and insert a paper clip into the retaining pin hole of each tensioner. This will lock the tensioners into their deactivated states. With the tensioners deactivated, you can now slide the sprockets and chain off of their respective shafts as assemblies. Next, remove the cam phaser control solenoids and discard the gaskets. These gaskets should not be reused. Remove the top front intermediate timing cover bolts that attach to the front cam bearing caps. 3 bolts on the right bank and 4 bolts on the left bank. Now, using the proper removal sequences, remove the front bearing caps on each bank. Here is the removal sequence. With the bearing caps removed, remove the secondary chain tensioners. Now, with all the timing components removed, it is the opportune time to replace the water pump. The pump bolts torque to 85 inch-pounds. Before we start the installation, we have a few things to show you. All 3 timing chains have colored timing links. Both secondary chains have 3 timing mark links, 2 together and 1 separate. The sequential timing marks align to the exhaust secondary cam sprockets. The primary chain uses 2 similarly colored links and 1 unique. The unique colored link aligns to the crank sprocket timing mark. It is very critical to understand the proper sealing application on the front cam bearing cap mating surfaces. There are sealing grooves on the front camshaft bearing caps that mate to the engine's heads and coincide with where the bearing caps are exposed to outside the engine's oil bath. After cleaning all surfaces, a thorough application of sealant in each of these grooves is crucial for the overlap sealing areas between cap and valve covers. Make sure sealant application does not transfer into critical oil supply grooves of the cam bearing caps. The front camshaft bearing caps also have sealant transfer surfaces from the back of the rear timing system case. These surfaces will seal from the sealant application on the back of the rear timing system case. It is critical that the oil ports going through the rear timing system case are not contaminated with sealant. We are now ready to start the assembly. Start by installing the secondary time and chain tensioners. Torque the bolts to 75 inch-pounds. Next, reinstall the camshaft bearing caps. Before we do, let me explain that the rear timing system case should be removed in order for proper installation of the front camshaft bearing caps. We have found that if you are careful, you can reinstall the caps without excessive sealant smear. Apply sealant to the clean mating surfaces and carefully position the bearing caps into place. Try to prevent sealant smear as much as possible. Torque the front camshaft cap bolts in 3 stages in this sequence. The first pass tighten to 17 inch-pounds, then 52 inch-pounds on the second, then 85 inch-pounds on the third and final pass. Once the cap bolts are torqued, install the rear timing system case to bearing cap bolts. Torque these bolts to 10 foot-pounds. Once all bolts are tightened, inspect and clean the oil supply ports on both heads. Make sure to remove any excess sealant found. Install the cam phaser control solenoids using new gaskets. Now we can install the secondary chains and sprockets on each bank. The right bank secondary system uses the circle timing marks and the left bank uses the oval marks. Align the sequential marks of the secondary chain to the 2 circle marks of the front of the right bank exhaust cam sprocket and the single mark of the chain to the circle timing marks on the back of the right hand intake cam phaser sprocket assembly. Install the sprockets and chain onto the camshaft as an assembly and ensure the chain rests inside the raised guides of the secondary tensioner contact pad. Repeat the process for the left-hand cam drive system, except this time use the oval timing marks on both the intake cam phaser sprocket and the exhaust cam sprocket. Recheck all timing marks and then tighten the cam sprocket bolts. Use a wrench on the hex features of the camshaft to torque the bolts to 75 foot-pounds. When finished, go ahead and pull the activation pins on both secondary tensioners. Now install the crank sprocket. Make sure the timing mark is facing forward. Install the left-hand chain guide. Torque the bolts to 16 foot-pounds. Install the primary chain. Align the similarly marked links to the timing marks on the intake cam phasers and the unique link to the mark on the crank sprocket. Install the upper time and chain guide. Torque the bolts to 75 inch-pounds. Now install the tensioner guide. Torque the bolts to 12 foot-pounds. Next, install the time and chain tensioner. Torque tensioner bolts to 75 inch-pounds. Now go ahead and recheck all the timing marks. Once confirmed, pull tensioner activation pin. You're now ready to reinstall the rocker covers and the front engine cover. Once again, make sure all surfaces are clean and sealant coverage is thorough yet not excessive. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please call our tech line. Please subscribe to our channel.